Hello everybody there, how are you doing? This is Gosha from Cosmic Agency, and I'm very happy to share with you this video about soul traps, so-called soul traps, and memory deletion machines that apparently some people believe do exist. There are even remote viewers who are supposedly locating machines like this. Those of you who have known our stuff, you will probably have an idea already what Athena in this case, and also Swaruu of Erra in the end, and Yazhi will say, but I think the video is going to be interesting for everybody. So is there such a thing as a soul trap after death? Is there such a device somewhere out there that traps souls after death? And what about those machines and devices that delete people's memories and that supposedly prevents people from connecting to the source? I'm going to leave you with a video, but just before the end of the video, I'm going to come on and make some clarifying points, because this is important video, important information, and I want you to have it clear. Until soon.
Originally in English, 2022. Quote: remote viewers targeted the location of the soul amnesia machine, and it will release its location in approximately 2 weeks. Maybe the Taigetans could swing by and dismantle so humanity can have its memory restored. That would be nice. A machine as responsible for the veil of forgetfulness? No, it can't exist, as forgetting is an intrinsic part of the making of a soul, ego, or self, as it is giving it a frame of apparent limitation, while in a sea of eternity. But there may be a machine that is causing even more amnesia, making it worse artificially, and even the Van Allen belt generators could be such a machine. Quote: remote viewers say the soul is tortured with electric shock to erase memories and implant negative programs to prevent awakening and connection to source. What is the best remedy for this? End quote. Anything to comment on this? You cannot trap a soul, because there is nothing to trap. It's source itself, removing all religious connotations to soul. A soul, as in the essence of an individual, is an idea or group of ideas that are held as attachments by source itself, being that soul is simply part of source, and it is isolated from other so-called souls only by an arbitrary or almost arbitrary set of limitations, ideas, as said above, and in the context of memory held in connection to those ideas or concepts. That is, source chooses to see from one point of itself to another point of itself as Jenny. So there cannot be something to trap. You cannot trap the Absolute, the infinite creator of everything there is, was, and ever will be. However, what can be done is to impose, using some media, and usually done using a so-called physical body that helps hold the idea or essence of an ego or a self, into thinking it's trapped somehow. So it is the soul, ego, self that has been tricked into believing that it is trapped. That would be the only way. And in the very instant that soul ego self notices this, then it will break free from that said trap. And you do not need to go further than to see the very ideas that give us all an identity of self, and me, and ego. Those are traps of this kind I am describing above. Pet ideas, limitations within a whole. That's all. A soul ego self is forever transforming and forever free. Why do so many people talk about these trapping machines, memory forced deletions, etc.? More ideas. They can be done to people and are done all the time. Even the simple fact of living in a planet, especially Earth, will give you the illusion of being trapped. And memory wipes can be done with high technology, because they can isolate thoughts, and all they need to do is superimpose an opposing frequency to the one held by that thought. That's invasive and not ethical at all. So it cannot be done in a disembodied state, or can it? Some attention-trapping machines when we die. From the other side, they can exploit the already existing concept of soul ego self held by the person who has disembodied. Technically it can be done, but it's basically manipulation of the perception of that soul ego self and not an actual trap as such. It can be done in the disembodied state because as long as someone holds a soul ego self, dead or not, astral or not, it holds some kind of body anyway. That soul ego self is a body in itself. However, direct answer from a lower point of view, it is much easier to do it when an individual soul ego self is in what you would call a physical body. Having said all that above, and accepting that it can be done, what they describe on Earth is only more Earth concepts that are not happening as such anywhere else, and are basically only the best interpretation those people saying those things have to explain complex subjects they do not understand fully. Okay, but I'm still confused. I'm sorry for insisting. Do they do it or not after death? Soul trapping. In the way that you described, by trapping the attention. Is it done? If so, in what manner exactly? Not as such. Those are concepts that are close to reality or close to what can be done. The basic soul trap as such at death, the classic one referring to forced reincarnation, does not occur as with a machine, much less with a devil holding a pitchfork. It's the basic ideas of the soul ego self itself that make it want to reincarnate. The only trap is the one the soul ego self takes onto itself, based on its belief systems it held when it was alive. Ideas are the matrix, so people when they die, they take the matrix with them, because what they lived and experienced while alive formed their concept of soul ego self, therefore themselves. So they are the ones forcing themselves to reincarnate, holding on to their ideas in the form of attachments they cannot shed at death. They need to let go. So, why do so many people talk about it, or remote viewers see it? Svarus are into the habit of contradicting nearly everyone. I think what they are seeing is a distorted interpretation of what a soul ego self imposes on itself. So, can soul be trapped with frequency EM field? Only with a very technological advanced machine, Immersion pod. Another chat. I saw this recently online. Quote, "The war in the Orion system resulted in a large number of refugees to flee to Earth over a great many years. Their normal transference to the planet was to be born there. Eventually, the Orion authorities sent their representatives to transform Earth into a prison planet. Technology was installed that erases a subject's memory upon physical death, implants false memories, and then recycles the subject back into another human life cycle, essentially keeping a population under lock and key without an easy way to escape." End quote. Only this holds some truth. The war with the Orion Alliance resulted in a large number of refugees that fled to Earth over a large span of time. Normal immigration to planet Earth began at that point. End quote. The rest is not true, and I could write a whole essay explaining why. It only perpetuates what many say on Earth, and it holds no truth. And it shows ignorance about many things. For example, how memory is lost or wiped out when a soul ego self incarnates there. Machines that erase memory exist, but their effects are mostly temporary, but no one is applying them on Earth in a large scale. The veil of forgetfulness on Earth, upon entering it, is a natural phenomenon caused by a frequency disparity between high-frequency soul ego self in a higher plane of existence and Earth's realm under a low-frequency soup. So, high-frequency memory signals simply do not enter, simply because they are not tuned to Earth's. The exact same phenomenon happens when dreaming. People are in another lighter, higher frequency realm, and the memory of having been there fades fast because there is no frequency compatibility. Like a stereo that is not tuned to the correct radio station. And when people remember a dream, they do so mostly only in fragments. And this is achieved because they manage to place enough attention to the dream, forcing the physical brain to transform the high-frequency signal to a lower-frequency memory format compatible with Earth's physical realm existence. Comment from Yazhi, originally in Spanish. The veil of oblivion obeys something very simple. It's not some machine that erases memories or anything like that. It's the same mechanism that erases dreams when you wake up. What is in more energetic, lighter planes of existence is not compatible in frequency with the heavier material world, so it does not link those mental frequencies. The memory is not in the brain, it is in the etheric field. So if those frequencies are very subtle, the brain does not decode them. To remember a past life or last night's dream, you have to hold on to it somehow long enough for that subtle thing to imprint a reaction in the brain that can bring it into the physical world as a memory. The brain translates what is in the field and brings it into the physical world. It does not produce the memories. It only projects them onto the physical world. This also happens due to prenatal agreements.
Thank you for staying until this point. Now, before I leave you with the last part from Swaruu of Erra, before that, let's summarize some points because they are important. First, forgetfulness. Forgetfulness. The machines that erase the memories, supposedly. Well, as it was explained here, forgetfulness is an intrinsic part of being born into the physical realm. It's not something that just happens here in the so-called 3D. It's also something that occurs up there. They do remember more. They do remember more of their past lives, approximately 3 past lives. However, not everybody, and not with the same clarity, and it is simply something that defines a physical incarnation, a physical experience. Otherwise, if you could remember everything, and if you could remember all your different identities that you have been and are, and you are all of them, because we are all one, then you would be the source itself. The idea here is to experience this apparent, illusory fragmentation and separation, and what gives you the ideas of yourself from here to here, what constitutes you from here to here. That's an inherent intrinsic part of experiencing that physical you as you. Otherwise, you would be just source itself. So forgetfulness is something very natural and necessary for you to experience in order to have the experience that you're having. Another point here is that forgetfulness is a natural phenomenon occurring when there is a frequency mismatch between so-called higher and lower densities. And this happens, for example, when you dream. When you sleep and when you dream, it's hard for your brain to retain those experiences and those sensations and memories because there is that mismatch and the frequency conflict here when you are coming back into your physical 3D brain experience. And it was very well explained. I'm not going to continue here with that thought, but the brain simply doesn't decodify those experiences that you had in higher realms. Frequency mismatch, the same as when you dream. Now, just to those of you who might be wondering, the step down, when the person is stepping down physically from the ship, let's say there is someone coming from Toleka, 5D person, coming down and stepping onto the earth. Now they are in a 3D realm of things, so to speak. So someone could ask, there should be also a frequency mismatch here, and they shouldn't remember who they are. Where actually they do remember who they are because they are still retaining their hardware. They are still retaining the brain with which they are functioning here, so they are still able to decodify that information. However, if they stayed here for a very, very long time, decades, the memories actually will start to go away, and they are going to start losing those 5D memories. Now, the devices that erase the memory, I'm not talking about some super gigantic machines or whatever, machines after death that just zap you and you go back incarnating into Earth, not remembering anything. No, I'm talking about the small machines that were, for example, used in Men in Black. Those little devices do exist and you can apply it, and they can be applied. I know of a person, it was mentioned to us, long story how and why, but I know of a person up there that did apply that device to themselves. It was a girl, and she just chose not to remember anymore anything of her past. However, as it was explained here, the effects, the results are not super permanent, and it's not something used on a large scale on humans. This is just something individual that is done here and there. And why did this person decide to do that? Well, it's, like I said, it's a long story. It's to form a new identity, because as it was explained before, the memories of who you are from here to here, this is what defines you as your identity, ego self, from here to here. So if you want to experience something else and a new identity, even though a lot of things in your essence do carry through, even if you don't remember. So if you want to experience a new identity, something new, and especially those memories in the past were painful, then you can apply that sort of machine on yourself and you form a new person, so to speak. Even though I believe, and yes, those memories were still there somewhere in your subconscious mind, and they will continue defining who you are, and maybe not in such a direct and conscious way. So anyway, those devices exist, but it's nothing to do with those machines to delete people's memories upon entering Earth. And actually, if you think about it, the Van Allen bands, as it was mentioned in the video, could be viewed as such a machine, because they are frequency suppressing technology, so they are kind of contributing that there is this gap between frequencies and there is this mismatch between frequencies. That's why, the same as when you dream, you lose contact with your experiences. Well, when you incarnate here, because of that mismatch of frequency contributed by the Van Allen bands, well, that makes it all kind of worse, so to speak. So Van Allen bands could be viewed as such a device, as such a mechanism. Now, about soul traps. A lot of people talk about soul traps, but Agatans and Swarunians especially are very, very clear on this. There is no soul traps, there is no such a thing as soul traps and soul trapping machines somewhere out there waiting for you, trapping you. There is nothing to trap. And when you really understand what a soul is, what you are, what your consciousness is, you will be fully understanding here that there is no possibility to trap anything, because there is nothing to trap. The soul is not some sort of an entity that can be put in a jar and kept there as a prisoner. It's a signal, it's a point of attention within the source itself. Actually, as it was explained here, I think it was in this video, yes, you are not even a soul, you are a point of attention within a soul, within a larger soul, because that soul, let's call it oversoul, because they are like layers and layers, can have and does have multiple points of attention living out simultaneously, and you're just one of them, and there's nothing to be trapped. How they are trapped, and that does happen, is by trapping people's ideas, attention, and their perception. Because that's what those points of attention are. They are ideas. They are self-ego ideas of yourself, of themselves, which is, by the way, a trap in itself. It could be viewed, as it was also explained. Let me get to that a little bit later. So how they are trapped is by trapping their ideas, is by trapping with your attention and what you believe in. What you believe in, because based on what you believe in, based on your idea of self and your reality, you'll be recreating the next step of your journey, your greater reality. That's why it's so important for the regressives to be trapping and captivating people's perception into limiting beliefs, into sets of beliefs and ideas that are super diminishing who they truly are. And this is how they trap you. In this sense, here people are asking or saying or stating, declaring that the earth is a prison. The earth is not a prison. The earth is not a trap, in a sense that there is no machine, like I said, that is forcing people into this location, into this place. Everybody comes here voluntarily. However, it can be viewed as a trap, because the mind manipulation and control on Earth has such a grip over the people and over those souls that it captivates totally their attention in a certain direction. And that's what's causing those souls to be trapped here. And that's what's causing these souls to want to reincarnate. And that also extends to after death. Because as it was explained, after death, there is another layer of the matrix built on your ideas, because you continue to have ideas. So you will recreate, based on your ideas, certain realities and recycling experiences for yourself. But it is not a prison in the sense that, hey, if you suddenly want to leave and you wake up and you realize what's happening, you can't, because there's someone there standing at the door not allowing you to leave. You are the only one that is trapping yourself to be here. You are in the prison of your own mind. And that's why it's so important for me and so important for Swarus to give knowledge to the people, to make them aware of things. So this way, as soon as you wake up and you realize of things, when you realize things and you become more knowledgeable and expanded, you will become free. You will liberate yourself from that prison of the mind, because that's the only trap, and it's the only way that this planet could be viewed as a prison. Otherwise, you came here voluntarily, you might have been manipulated, you might have been given a permission to someone to manipulate you, you have been giving a lot of, you have been imposed a lot of mind control, and all that is making you choose a certain avenue of experiences for yourself, limiting experiences that will make you feel like you are trapped and that like you are in a prison. But the key and the secret lies in awakening from all that, realizing what's going on, and realizing that you are free. You are always free, have been and always will be. That's why those ideas that the earth is a prison and that there are those traps, that's again another disempowering idea. Because again, you are delegating your immense power that you carry within to some sort of external reality that is supposedly trapping you, or that is supposedly keeping you here as a prisoner. Nothing and no one keeps you here against your own decisions, higher, lower, manipulated or not, but your decisions, and you are always free. Interesting point was mentioned that there is a special device, mechanism, that actually does serve as some sort of a trap. However, I will explain how it wasn't said in a negative way. Immersion pods. Immersion pods are such a soul signal trapping device. However, no one is doing that to those immersed people against their will. They are all doing that because they want to. This is one of the main ways actually to enter Earth. One of the main mechanisms through which thousands of ET races choose to come in here, because it kind of guarantees their return back, etc. Because when they die, they wake up in their pod. So that could be viewed as a trapping machine. However, it's not a trap, because no one is luring you to go into that pod. You are doing it for yourself, and you are doing it totally voluntarily. Now, if you really think about it deeply, I would say that all material realm is a sort of a trap. However, for me, that word trap carries that negative connotation that gives the idea that there's something external to yourself, someone on the outside that is sticking you in that trap. But being here in the material world and experiencing the physical identity, physical ego self idea of who we are, it's something that we wanted to experience for ourselves. However, if we look at it, deeply, it can be viewed as some sort of a trap, because as soon as you incarnate into the physical material realm of things, right away you start developing attachments to certain ideas. Your experiences start to define and shape you, and preferences awaken and all that, and you become more and more grown and attached to those ideas of who you are. And in a way, that traps you within the material realm to incarnate again, wherever. I am not talking about Earth, wherever, even in, somewhere in a beautiful location out there, but it's still sort of a matrix within the matrix. As Yazhi once said, it's another layer of a cage. It's another layer of a cage, the material existence. If you look at it that way, because of course it can be viewed in a multitude of ways. It could be viewed as a beautiful experience where you master the power over matter, etc., and creativity and all that. So it could be viewed in a variety of ways, but yes, even with being within the physical realm of things, it can be viewed as a trapping experience for that spark of source. It sort of is, but whatever, play with it. However, if you are aware of this and aware of this game, that's where you start to transcend, and you go to recreate yourself into something else, maybe in the future. Anyway, I feel I'm rambling, so I might stop. Now the last comment, and I'm going to leave you with a fragment of the conversation with Swaruu of Erra a few years ago, and this is about the artificial souls, because she was explaining in the article, and it was a very, very, very detailed, long article. I'm going to leave the link to that article in the description box under this video, and this is about how the regressive races have been doing the experiments with souls, trapping of the souls in some sort of containers, whatever. But again, it's not like it's a sort of a container like a jar. They are rather capturing their attention and imposing some sort of a artificially, through computers, technology, imposing a certain type of experience on those points of attention that makes them believe they are actually living within the biological organism. It's quite complicated. I'm going to leave you the link to that video, so watch that. But yes, they have been doing those experiments. However, as she said here, Athena, a lot of souls escape because as soon as they realize what's happening, they move their attention somewhere else, and the signal is gone. So they have been trying to experiment now with artificial souls, and this is where the transhumanism and cloning technologies come in. So this is where it becomes a little bit more sinister here, but that's what's been going on. And why they have been doing this? Because they know they can trap souls. The souls cannot be trapped because they are immortal, infinite, vast, and they are source itself. So I'm going to leave you with this last part with Swaruu of Erra, and I'm going to see you in the next video, as always. Have a good day, and thank you for watching.
From previous conversation with Swaruu of Erra, originally in Spanish.
It seems, from what I understood, that these regressive entities are genetically experimenting with the souls, in the sense that they are trying to trick them through energetic frequencies that they are in accordance with, that the being created by them. Could these regressive entities somehow hold a soul captive? Hold a soul in isolation? Thank you.
Yes, they can, and do hold it captive. That is what I meant when I wrote about the energetic containers with specific computer-controlled frequencies with zero-point energy principles. But this is only as long as the soul in question does not realize that it is captive. As soon as it does, it withdraws and they lose it. This happens very often, and it is a big problem for them because so many escape that in the end they have few favorable results with this method. So they are resorting to artificial souls. Remember that souls are not there. They are in the source. It is only the signal of a soul, like their transmission. It is its point of attention. A being is a point of attention of a soul, not the soul itself. To escape from a container, all you have to do is not look in a certain direction. Look at something else, and done. Having a soul captive is not literal, like having a bird imprisoned in a cage. Having it captive is like having a person captivated by a television program. He's there watching whatever because he is interested in it. If he loses interest or looks at something else, he will just leave.
Okay, I understand the trap now. They draw attention of the soul they want for a particular being. Thank you.
Yes. But as it has not worked for them, or very limitedly, there is no lack of mindless souls. They are already developing artificial souls. And that is transhumanism and advanced artificial intelligence.